The stone blocks here weigh approximately 1,000 tons. Let me put that into perspective. The most powerful cranes in the world today can lift a maximum of 2,000 tons, and building those cranes requires hundreds of engineers, decades of metallurgical knowledge, and billions of dollars worth of technology. Yet in the Baalbek Valley of Lebanon, roughly 2,000 years ago, these blocks were laid into place. Not just laid, stacked with millimeter precision, one on top of another. And official history tells you this. Primitive people did it with wooden sledges and ropes. Now close your eyes and try to imagine an army of humans pulling a 1,000-ton block with rope. You can't, can you? Because it's physically impossible. But those blocks are still standing there. So either official history is wrong, or these people knew something you don't. Today, I'm going to tell you what that something is. Before we dive into the megalith question, let's establish something. Across the world, separated by thousands of kilometers, civilizations that were supposedly never in contact with each other displayed the same construction techniques, the same geometric ratios, and the same mind-bending stone masonry. The Egyptian pyramids, the walls of Sacsayhuaman in Peru, the Najra Temple in Malta, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, Stonehenge in England. They all share one thing in common. Today's engineers are not confident they could replicate these structures with the same precision using current technology. Think about that. We send rockets to the moon, we build quantum computers, but we cannot fully reproduce what our ancestors did. Doesn't that strike you as strange? It strikes me as very strange. Now let's get to the real question. How were these blocks moved? Mainstream history insists on the slave labor theory. Hundreds, even thousands of workers slowly pushing stones, sliding them on sledges, positioning them with levers. This theory might seem reasonable for small-scale stonework. But when you consider the three massive blocks at Baalbek known as the trilithon, the theory completely collapses. Each of those blocks weighs somewhere between 800 and 1,000 tons. And buried in the ground just outside Baalbek sits yet another block, called the Stone of the South, weighing approximately 1,600 tons. 1,600 tons left behind without ever being moved. Why? Maybe they lost the technology to transport it. Maybe something was interrupted midway. And maybe that something was a system powered by sound waves. Acoustic levitation, the lifting force of sound, is a proven reality in laboratory settings today. NASA and various European research institutions have repeatedly demonstrated that sound waves can suspend small objects in midair. The principle works like this. Sound waves at a specific frequency, when they collide with each other, form a structure called a standing wave. Within this structure, at the points where the waves cancel each other out, pockets of pressure form, and objects placed inside these pockets remain suspended in the air, defying gravity. Right now, this technique is being used to hold water droplets, small insects, and electronic circuit components in midair. But what does this prove to us? If it works at a small scale today, could the same principle work at a massive scale with a sufficiently powerful sound source? Official science says no, because the energy required would be astronomical. But wait, that objection actually opens a very interesting door. In Tibet, before the Chinese occupation, several Western researchers and travelers who visited the region left behind testimonies of local monks performing stone-lifting rituals. The most striking of these accounts was compiled by Swedish engineer Olof Alexandersson. According to his account, a group of Tibetan monks played drums and trumpets at a specific frequency and rhythm, and then multi-ton stone blocks slowly rose from the ground and settled into their positions on the mountainside. This account was thrown into the dustbin of history for many years, because it didn't fit any scientific framework. It also sounded a little strange, admittedly. But now that we know acoustic levitation exists, don't we owe it to ourselves to reevaluate these testimonies from the ground up? And this isn't limited to Tibet. Ancient texts from all around the world speak of structures built through sound vibration, or divine speech, that moves stones. In ancient Egyptian texts, there are symbolic references to pharaohs having their temples built by the voice of God. Hindu Vedic texts speak of flying vehicles and sound ceremonies that display stones. In pre-Islamic Arab traditions, there are interpretations suggesting that Solomon's structures were built not by jinn, but through vibrational knowledge. Could it be a coincidence that these cultures, unaware of one another, use the same symbolism? Or are they all carrying the memory of a technology that once genuinely existed? Let's go a little deeper. Now, let's turn to the matter of stone softening. Among the indigenous Quechua people of Peru, oral traditions passed down through generations describe pre-ancestors, those who came long before the Incas, kneading stone like dough. When you look closely at the blocks of Sacsayhuaman, the surfaces where the stones interlock show an incredible smoothness and a flawless contact angle. These surfaces cannot be achieved with mechanical tools without modern laser cutting equipment. But what if stone, under the influence of a specific frequency, temporarily became plastic, shaped like poured concrete, and then allowed to harden? Then these surfaces become explainable. This theory is speculative, yes. But the polymer-like flow marks on the surfaces of Sacsayhuaman are just as real. And now we arrive at the truly disturbing question: if this technology genuinely existed, where is it? Why don't we have it today? This is where history takes on a far darker dimension. The burning of great libraries in ancient times, the systematic destruction of knowledge, the violent suppression of teachings deemed heretical, none of this is coincidence. The burning of the Library of Alexandria, the killing of scientists in the Middle Ages, the destruction of the ancient written records of the Americas, Africa, and Asia during the colonial era. All of these could be parts of a single, interconnected process. If the knowledge of the civilization that built the megalithic structures, the knowledge of our true history, was one of the targets of this great erasure, then what we are taught today, primitive people used rope and wood, is not the product of memory loss. It is the product of deliberate forgetting. Sit with this question: what power wanted to bury the cities hidden beneath the pavements, the frequency-generating structures scattered across the world, and the stone masonry secrets shared from Tibet to Peru? And why? The answer is closer than you think. And as we said, sooner or later, the truth always comes to the surface.